Can't wait to get your take on this one. Real quick, shout out to our latest sub, Yvonne Teak. Appreciate you grilling and chilling with the Meat Boys. And very interested to hear me. Are you going to roll with Grant Dawson, aka KGD, who at 18, 1-1 is on an absolute tear, right? I mean, he essentially had one bad round against Ricky Glenn, and that netted him that majority draw. But beyond that, it's been win after win and a lot of solid competition that he's gone against, right? He took out our boy Juicy J, Juliana Rosa, took out the Ultimate Fighter winner, Michael Trezano, who fights next weekend, and Meat Boy Minter Dinner, Leonardo Santos, and most recently against Jared Gordon, who is fighting Patty in December. So a lot of interesting wins there, a lot of good stuff from Grant Dawson, who keeps getting better, and he's fighting Marco Madsen, and some might argue that the O might stand for overrated. So do you think Marco Madsen is going to have the skill set necessary? I mean, we know this is the undefeated wrestler. The O stands for Olympian, right? This is a guy who wasn't just there, he was winning medals. So we know the kind of craft he has there. Will he have the stand-up chops necessary? Or do you not think that that'll even factor in? And Marco Madsen, just like he's been doing, takes down Grant Dawson and keeps him there. Who are you taking in this one?
Yeah, this is such a crazy matchup because clearly we have both two specialists in grappling. Grant Dawson has an insane amount of submissions. It's crazy for his record. And Mark Madsen, I mean, he's an Olympian. Dude's a legend. Dude's a goat. But he is 38 versus 28, so 10 years. So will the new, peaking, prime physique young killer get this done as a favorite, or is the OG still has enough, testes in the tank to get it done, and he's got enough experience to outclass this young lad? And I'm going to go with Madsen. Madsen's a freak of nature. He reminds me of Yoel Romero. So Madsen's got at least 5 more years until he's dust. And so I think Madsen's going to, pull out the veteran in him in the grapple world and take it on. I don't really see Grant being like, oh, this magical striker. Mark Madsen and Grant standing up might be pretty even. You could maybe argue Grant will be a little better, but I don't think it'll be that much better if it is. But I think Mark's just going to win wherever it goes, on the feet, on the ground. I would be very surprised if Grant submits him. That would just blow my mind. But it would make sense. He's a 2-1 favorite. So, with those kind of odds, with an absolute savage like Mark is, I have to ride with my boy the Olympian. So I have to take this. These odds are insane. You already know who I'm riding. Olympian, unanimous decision, or TKO finish.
Yeah, I feel you. Great stuff. Great points. Well taken for sure. And I think that if you are bullish on just what Marco Madsen has shown you thus far, then at plus 200, I mean, 2-1 for the Olympian seems pretty juicy for sure if you're bullish on Mark O. You touched on what this fight looks like when on the feet. I don't know. I kind of think that Grant Dawson will have the advantage. I think he's going to be faster than Marco Madsen on the feet. And I don't know. I can see a world where almost it looks similar to like Arnold Allen versus Calvin Kattar this past weekend, where Allen was definitely teeing off on Kattar pre-knee injury. And I don't know. Maybe I was reading too much into it, but it looked like Kattar was feeling something that maybe he wasn't used to, and I can see that being the case for Marco Madsen, but that would assume that Grant has continued to level up his stand-up game. I mean, I just know most recently against Jared Gordon, he did have some moments. I know he won by submission, but he had some nice moments on the feet for sure, so hopefully he can take those into this fight against Overguard Madsen. But if we look at Tapology, 65% is rolled with KGD, 35% is rolled with the Olympian, and it's basically beige on both sides. Do you think there's a world where Dawson gets a finish, or would you say it's more likely that Madsen gets a finish, if anyone?
Honestly, I think Madsen is going to get a finish, if anyone. I just don't see Dawson getting a finish. It seems his only way to finish is a submission, which I don't know. I just don't see it. And I don't see, like, if somehow Dawson out-grapples Mark Madsen, that's just going to blow my mind. And maybe he does get a KO on the ground or submission, but I just don't see Grant landing an absolute meat bomb on the feet, while I do see Madsen ragdolling Grant and showing him this is how you grapple, little bud.
Yeah, this fight's fun, right? Because, we most might argue that Madsen probably has that grappling advantage, but maybe the MMA wrestling skill set of Grant Dawson is better than the sort of Olympic style that Marco is bringing. But nonetheless, in this one, I'm rolling with Grant Dawson. I just think he's going to have a decided advantage on the feet, and I think the fight is going to be on the feet longer than some might anticipate. I can just see Grant Dawson being able to stuff these repeated takedowns, and we've seen Marco kind of fade with his gas tank. So if he starts to fade in, mid round 2, late round 3, I can just see him like eating some body shots, getting picked apart on the feet, and ultimately Dawson getting a late finish. So I'm gonna roll with Grant Dawson. I like him to actually get the finish in this one. But let's see if you're right about Marco O. And then if he does, I'm going Dawson. But if Madsen gets this done, what's next for Marco Madsen?
What's next is I think they got to give him a top 5 fight ASAP. He's not getting younger. He needs to get maybe one more, or maybe, there's no way he's squeezing in for a title fight, right? But he's going to have to get a top 5 fight. Maybe Demir. I would like to see Demir. Maybe, if it's not a top 5, then maybe Demir or, the Georgia Viking. One of those guys. I think that would be epic. But yeah, I think they need to push him up ASAP. If he gets this done in a great fashion, if he just smashes Dawson, Dawson has plenty of shelf life, so they'll just keep throwing him through the ringer, just use him and abuse him. He's nowhere near title fight, even if he smashes Madsen. But Madsen has some hype, has the Olympian, all that little background, and he's 38, so they could push him if he gets it done in spectacular fashion, or they'll just we don't really care, we don't need you. You know how stacked 155 is. Get in line. You want a title shot? Get in line. That's what Dana's going to say. So, time is not good for Mark. So, honestly, it wouldn't even surprise me if he retires if he wins. He's just old, and what else are they going to do with him? There's so many insane fights that are probably way ahead of him for a title fight. So I just don't see him ever getting a title fight, to be honest, which is sad.
Yeah, he's definitely up there in age, but you got to imagine that I don't know, I couldn't see an Olympian wanting to just exit with a victory. I would just anticipate him wanting to be a champ and taking it as far as it can go for sure. But we'll see. Maybe you put him against Gregor Gillespie and see who the better wrestler is, but Gillespie probably, won't answer the phone. So nonetheless, in this one, let us know in the comments who you're rolling with. Meat is going with Marco Madsen, Meaty Marco Madsen, and your boy's going with KGD. Let us know.